Evening, everyone, and welcome to the FITT Show, financial information for today and tomorrow. I'm Bobby P. Kinzer,
And I'm Thomas Doty.
and we are the FITT Show, helping our people get their finances in shape. So good to see you today. This is our 199th show. Don't getting ready to hit 200. Can you believe that, man?
Oh, yeah.
199. Would you say this is like what? Would this be 4 years though, or 3?
4.
4. Wow. I can't believe we've been that consecutive, man. And we hope we've been giving you news that you can use. And just want to give a disclaimer that we always use a lot of information from different sources, primarily from Kiplinger. And hope you subscribe because they got some great information there about personal money management, Vanguard, Fidelity, and a lot of Investopedia. We pull from a lot of places, full disclosure. And we not selling anything, you all. We actually are just financial educators. So we just want you to know that we want, if you want specific information about your particular situation, because everybody's situation is unique, just make sure you get a qualified financial advisor, somebody who is registered with the FINRA, the Financial Industry Regulatory Agency, who is has a fiduciary responsibility. Or, as we say, this doesn't have to be a financial advisor. We, prefer that, but somebody who knows what they're talking about. And that could be family member or good friend, co-worker. Just make sure, they know what they're talking about because nowadays we have access to a lot of information. One other, administrative chore. Please click on the like button, y'all. That's important because that way we get more tractions or more availability to more people out there on Facebook and YouTube. And also like for you to share your Facebook Live and on YouTube. We want you to subscribe and have other individuals to subscribe. Also, we really, 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 really appreciate that. And now this is a big one, right? We actually get more traction from the comment box, but we actually use the comment box because we're in a virtual studio. Doty's in South Carolina on the border of Charlotte, and I'm in Bowie, Maryland. And but this is how we make the show interactive by the comment box. If you have any comments, opinions about what we're talking about, or questions, please use the comment box. Also, if you want us to talk about some future ideas or something you came about this past week, if we have time, we'll address it. But if we can't get it today, we'll get it at another time. But 9 times out of 10, we'll address it today because we try to cover as much as we can. So please use that comment box because that's how we can make this an interactive show. Thomas Doty, how are you doing today, my brother?
Absolutely fantastic. How are you doing?
Oh, no, absolutely. That's a good word. You know what? I found out in the speaking and in literature when somebody says absolutely, that doesn't mean nothing. Like people think you're agreeing with them. All you have to do is say, they say, don't you think I'm the best person in the world? Absolutely. And that does not mean you are confirming it. But no, I'm glad you're having an absolute great day, Dope. And so am I. So we always start the top of the show with the stock market review. And that is the purview that is given to you from Mr. Thomas Doty of how the market is doing. Dope, we always rely on you to give us some good information about the stock market. You're not batting 100, but you're close. But we're hoping today you're going to give us some good news.
Well, not a lot of good news.
Oh, no.
It's just more uncertainty. I mean,
right.
There's a lot going on. Bond yields are at their highest level since 2008. And so that's creating some good possibility for investment for people who are interested in bonds. But it's a result of some of the uncertainty in the market right now. And you look at the tariff situation.
So is that good or bad when you say the yields are great on the bonds? Is that a good thing or bad?
No, it's not really a good thing because it's a reflection of uncertainty. And it's another place to put your money as opposed to investing in the stock market. And it's kind of, I think it'll be difficult for the Fed to lower interest rates given this uncertain environment. And there's a couple of things. It's the tariffs that are out there that are creating havoc in the market. But the other thing is the this big beautiful bill that the president is talking about. And you don't have to be a genius to understand that if you give big tax cuts and take in less money,
Mhm.
and you spend a whole lot of money on immigration, defense, building walls, and that kind of stuff, you're not long for financial. Very bad things going to happen financially. And you spend a whole lot more and you take in a whole lot less. I mean, it doesn't take, the deficit is going to get even bigger. They're talking this package could have a $5 trillion effect on the deficit. And okay, what makes the deficit so bad is the fact that you are paying interest on a whole lot of money, and that's taking away from let's say production or money that could be used for things that are positive. Your debt service is getting extremely large. So
Good.
I see all that to say the market is still had a good week last week, as we talked about. It's kind of treaded water this week. You can see the S&P it's down a point. I'm sorry, a percentage point. NASDAQ's down a percentage point. A couple of stocks have done okay. Microsoft's up 2 in the week. Apple's taken a big hit, and there's some things going on with Apple. First of all, when all the tariffs hit, they decided to move a lot of their production to India, and the president doesn't like that idea. He wants Apple to build phones here in the U.S., but if they did, the phone would probably cost around $3,000.
Wow.
Because of the labor costs and everything involved with building them here. So that's a non-starter both ways. I'm not sure how that's going to work out. I know the president of Apple had a talk with Trump this week, so I'm not sure how that's all going to shake out. I imagine if they give him a whole lot of money, he'll acquiesce and do whatever they want to do. But that's just my opinion. Nvidia's down 2 for the week. Google's up. There's a lot of positive things going on there, but there's also some negative things. I mean, with this whole antitrust and possibly them having to be broken up. And I think I mentioned last week that there's some talk that their search engine isn't as robust as it once was. So there are some things going on in there. And if they do get broken up, that's going to affect Apple also. Because I think they pay Apple something like $20 billion to be their major search engine. And so that's another thing that's weighing on Apple stock. Pfizer's flat for the week, and Palantir is down 6 points. And again, that's one's just, it's a high flyer. It's going real well. And it's one of those, I usually look at a lot of fundamentals and analysis to say, okay, I should stick in here. But this stock is just doing well just because, and I just haven't decided to jump out yet. I got in at 70, so I'm up a bit. So I got a little playroom. If it drops down to 100, I'll probably bail out and take my 45% and be happy. But right now, I'm just going to let it ride. So all in all, we're in a huge state of uncertainty. That package that passed the House will have to go to the Senate, and we'll see what changes they make. But I don't think it's going to change that much because it looks like they have a united front as far as Republicans go. You had a couple that were pushing back, but they got coerced into following the lead, and so the bill passed in the House, and we'll see what happens in the Senate. But it's a hodgepodge of things. They're talking about no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. And again, those are just targeted things that he yelled out during his election campaign. There's no real reason to do those things. I mean, there's
Right.
nothing that's going to help the economy or help the U.S. It's just statements he's made. So I'm a little concerned about this whole thing because, again, you can't spend more than you take in. That's a recipe for disaster, and that's where this plan is right now. They're taking in with the tax cut, and again, this is going back. He's throwing some peanuts out to the people,
right,
for the middle class, and I'll just say the middle class because it's people at the bottom end who are really going to take the brunt if it goes through unchanged. But the big part of this tax cut is the continued tax break for the wealthy, and that's what's going to cause trouble when you're taking in a whole lot less money than you're spending. So that's my thought on it. Again, I think we're in for a long period of uncertainty until this whole thing shakes out, and I'm not sure it's going to shake out positively just because of they have the House, the Senate, and you have that guy who's running things who I personally don't think is of sound mind, but we'll have to see.
Well, though that's interesting because today's show is titled "Prepare for the Unexpected." I think that's a good title. But I think you could give a good overview, though, of what's going on. I mean, don't nobody really know, but just the basics. I mean, come on, you don't need to be no economist to know if you're spending more than what you're coming in. Come on, that's basic math. That's, you know,
and the math don't work.
And the math don't work. I know, but this is so interesting, though. Let's talk about the cryptocurrency market, which is going off. It is up 217 billion, up 6%. Now the market cap is 3,629,000,000. Bitcoin is at $111,000 and $3,300,000 per Bitcoin, up $8,230 since last week per Bitcoin, 8%. The beauty about cryptocurrency, no, you can't afford to purchase one Bitcoin for $111,000. But that's the beauty. The small man can play in the game too because you can get a percentage of that coin and can make out. It's interesting. And one of the reasons, now remember, Bitcoin is really about consumer sentiment. It's not backed by anything other than like the Tether, the USDT coin is supposed to be, backed by the dollar. But one of the reasons why cryptocurrency is doing so well is because it was always created to counter the dollar, because the dollar was really at one time really losing its value, but it started getting stronger, and cryptocurrency was supposed to be another medium for exchange, other than what they call fiat currency, which is the dollar, whatever of that country's currency is. And so that's what the cryptocurrency was always created for, another currency to exchange to do peer-to-peer, transactions. So the dollar, like Doe said, they actually downgraded the credit of the United States. Moody's did, from AAA to double. And that kind of stuff affects bonds and everything, and it affects the dollar. The dollar is losing its strength. People are going to other currencies. The dollar was the currency to go to, but now, so that sort of has why cryptocurrency is doing what it's doing, because people are now starting to look to cryptocurrency. But it's still, nobody knows, there's no foolproof method, but that's just speculation on how cryptocurrency works. Ethereum is up 5%. All cryptocurrency, well, the top 10 are up. Remember, there's over now, I think, 10,000 cryptocurrencies that are active. There's 45,000 cryptocurrencies, only 10,000 are active. That's why we stick with the top 6, and really, me and Doe sticks with the number 1, which is Bitcoin, and it's been number 1 since it was created, and it still is number 1. And like we always say, we got to give a disclosure. is very highly speculative, and don't invest in money in it unless you are willing, can lose that money. That sounds always crazy when I hear myself say that. Only use money that you can lose. That sounds so crazy, but that's the nature of cryptocurrency,
Well,
though.
yeah, and that's because it's such a risky investment. It's not backed by anything really, and the only reason I'm in on two different areas. I got in on just straight Bitcoin through Cash App, and again, I just put a few grand in there, but it's I'm up over 5 times on that, and then just this past April, I got in to a Bitcoin ETF through Fidelity, and I got in there at 84, and it's up to 111. So that's about a 25%, 25% jump, or almost close to 30%, 30% jump just in a little over a month. So again, I did it just I don't I don't want to get left out. But the true reason is I do think Bitcoin or something like that is going to be in play, just because I think it's a good way to do a transaction and eliminate the middleman. But as Bob said, it's very, very risky. Not put money that you can't afford to go down, because it could drop $30,000 in value tomorrow. There's no reason it couldn't. So you have to be willing to accept that, because it's going to be volatile, just like everything in this market is going to be volatile for a while.
Right. But it's another form of an investment tool. And like we always say, it's all about having a diversified portfolio. Asset allocation is what it's all about. So it's just another tool in your toolbox.
What's gold doing, Bob?
Actually, gold is holding. Gold is right now at $3,299 per ounce. It's only down about maybe a couple of dollars today, because for a lot of y'all, commodities usually go with inflation. They're inflation busters, right? When inflation goes up, commodities seems to actually do better. And you would think with the dollar going down, but yeah, and silver's at $33 an ounce though. So I'm up. I'm up. What am I? Yeah, I'm up. Over 100% now. It's double what I put in 2017. I got into gold 2016, excuse me, and it has doubled since then. It's been moving slow, but once again, another tool in the toolbox, dope. And if you have a diversified portfolio, then you can look at some of these other, what they call alternative and investment tools. But always beware. Don't get into nothing that you don't understand. We always say that, don't we, Dope?
That's for sure.
So last week, our title of the show was Knowledge is Power. We talked about some great books, 7 books. We hope you all check them out. And if you didn't catch the show, go back on YouTube and archives and Facebook, and you can actually get the 7 books that we talked about. Great books, man. Great authors. And our frat brother, I always like to give him support, Dennis Kimbrough, Think and Grow Rich, the Black version. That's a really another good book. And he has another book called, I just forgot his most recent book. I'll come back with it, but another great book, by the way. So, Dope, let's talk about our subject today. Prepare for the unexpected.
Yeah, and it's definitely appropriate with what's going on in the market today. And whether you're thinking about retirement, or whether you're thinking about just how to handle your own personal finances, there's a bunch of things that can happen. A bunch of it's totally out of your control, left to chance. But we always talk about being prepared, whether it's retirement, whether it's just how you handle your money. It's really important to be prepared. And the thing that makes retirement unique is typically something that you only do one time. You don't have any experience doing it. It's not something you can say, okay, I'll start over. It's, you get into a situation and it's totally new when you start, and some very different and uncomfortable things can happen. And you have to develop a mental toughness to be able to handle those things and to be prepared for all the things that might happen. And so if, when you're thinking about retirement, you have to kind of prepare yourself for that you don't know what may happen. And they did a report that said 69% of men and 81% of women in retirement experienced at least one major disruption. And those disruptions could be anything from the death of a loved one. It could be health issues. It could be financial setbacks. There's all kinds of things that can happen. And we want to get you to thinking about preparing for those things.
Yeah, though there's a thing they call the rule of 4 futures in retirement. And we're going to kind of discuss those kind of things, because remember, you all, retirement doesn't stop. Planning, for retirement doesn't stop in retirement. When you retire, it's a continuous thing. Now, confidence to reach financial goals, it has increases over 25% with actual planning. It increases, as a planning tool. It offers a surprisingly practical way to prepare for retirement, not by predicting the future, but by becoming more resilient to whatever form it might take. Now, one common myth in retirement planning and financial planning is that happens, that people think is financial planning needs to happen all at once. No, it doesn't. There's other steps that you must take. You need to uncover what matters to you. You need to develop your path and your plan. You need to understand your choices and make it happen. And then what me and Dote always talk about, you need to review and track your milestones and modify your plan based on the expected and unexpected things that life brings. So Dote, why don't you kick it off with the first rule of the 4 futures in retirement?
Well, okay, yeah. We're going to talk about 4 futures. The first of which is called the continuation, and that's the one that reflects stability. The rule in your life, proceed as you plan, which obviously it's a blessing if if everything does happen just as you plan. But I'm here to tell you, it probably won't. And you stop working when you plan to stop working. You draw on your savings and Social Security. You travel. You enjoy your hobbies, and doing all the things you like to do. And a lot of people do actually live in that reality of what they expect to happen. And it says 70% of recent retirees actually, things do go as planned. And this kind of retirement typically has a few things in it. It's a reliable withdrawal strategy. It's manageable expenses, so you know what you're going to spend on your retirement, and you have good health. And that's always a wild card as you get old. Bob and I always talk about all the different things and aches and pains and hurts and sicknesses you have when you get old. And also, retirees who feel most confident have multiple sources of income, multiple sources of predictable income, and rely on their portfolios more for discretionary expenses. So that's to say, if you got a pension and Social Security, that's what you live on, and you do all your extra stuff based on your portfolio, and a very diversified portfolio. And so that situation is a guarantee for anybody. You also had an equal number of retirees who said inflation has beat them up. In the last couple of years, inflation has really taken a dent on a lot of people's budgets, as far as things cost a lot more than they did. And if you're on a pension, most pensions are fixed. Social Security has a cost of living increase, but a lot of times it doesn't keep up with inflation. Healthcare costs is something that often catches people off guard. That's a lot of people don't plan for medical expenses, and they say, "Oh, it turned out higher than I thought." And we've told you before, when you hop on Medicare, the three things that go out first: your eyes, your ears, and your teeth. Those are the things that go
And
out
then the
first.
things they don't give you health insurance for.
And Medicare doesn't cover any of those things. So you gotta be prepared for that. You can expect to pay more. Most people, if you're working, you got a health plan at your job that typically provides, health, provides dental care. If you have something going on with your ears, it covers that. If you have something going on with your eyes, you can typically get glasses and contacts and have exams every year, and that stuff's covered. Once you get to retirement, that all goes away, and all kind of other little aches and pains start happening. And so what we want you to understand is when you talk about retirement planning, it isn't about creating this one perfect version of the future. It's about building a plan that can hold up across a lot of things that may happen.
So remember, we're talking about the rule of 4 futures in retirement. The second one, though, is the feared retirement. Touch a little bit on it. This is a scenario where something breaks: your health, your finances. How about this? Or both. A market crash, a disability, a spouse's death, or runaway inflation can derail, even the most carefully built plan, right? Now, there's a thing called, a collapsed future where expectations unravel and harsh reality set in. There's a life insurance company called Alliance Life, and this study suggests that most Americans fear running out of money in retirement more than death. Now, Edward Jones, the big financial firm, they found, however, that retirees say the most disruptive event in the loss of a spouse or a partner is cited by 77% of responders. Now, many people underestimate how much can change in retirement, and I know a lot of people do. Like they said, one person lost their spouse 2 years in and had to quickly pivot their income strategy and reevaluate their housing and support. We talk about unexpected changes, right? Think about the public programs, now, and they are another growing fear of the feared retirement. The latest EBRI, that's the benefits people retirement, they do a confidence survey, and they found that 60% of workers and 80% of retirees worry that Social Security changes will reduce their benefits. I bet you one of those people in that percentage, you all. And that uncertainty has reportedly led more people to claim, early this year. A lot of people are claiming early. And I think that's part of their strategy, so they don't have to pay you the 30% if you wait to full retirement. Now, to prepare, a lot of advisors recommend building buffers such as cash reserves, annuities, primarily fixed annuities, because variable annuities can get really tricky. Long-term care insurance is another one that they feel, when it is appropriate. Now, there's some financial planners out there that suggest a bucket strategy. This is by having liquid assets or stable income to cover near-term needs. And, for people who can avoid selling investments during the downturn and preserve long-term growth. Now, why? It's not fun to dwell on the worst case scenarios. I know a lot of people nowadays don't even like looking at their money and they fear it, but it's not about being negative. It's about being prepared, like an emergency fund. We talk about that all the time. It gives you peace of mind, though.
Yeah, the next one is called the transformed retirement.
No. Go to that one, though. Discipline me.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I think I did. I think I flipped it on you.
Okay. The transformed retirement.
My bad.
This is the future you didn't plan for and you couldn't have planned for. For example, most people don't plan on getting divorced in retirement, but that happens in 1 in 3 marriages happen and end up in divorce. But also a lot of people are over 50 are getting remarried because that's on the rise. 67% of adults between 55 and 64, and half of those over 65 who divorce end up remarrying, which, hey, to each his own. So unexpected changes in retirement are always negative. In fact, you could have some things that happen that you don't expect that are truly enjoyable. Becoming a grandparent, that's one of the happiest. That's one of the happiest things of my life. I always use the analogy. I love cars, and I always look at grandkids are like having a Ferrari with no car note because I don't have any financial responsibility, and so that's one of the things that happened. That is just absolutely fantastic, and a lot of people take a dream vacation that they wouldn't think of doing while they were working, like maybe taking 2, 3, 4 weeks at one time and going on vacation, or starting a new hobby, or reconnecting with something that you always want to do, or something that you used to do but you never had time to do. A lot of people find happiness doing volunteer work that they never had time to do. So a lot of things that can happen that you don't expect. You might take a second act job of doing something that you really enjoy. You might move someplace that you didn't plan on moving. Some people might get a significant inheritance. That can also change your life too. So life doesn't always follow script. And that's why we talk about this transformation. Something new comes up and you just kind of roll with it.
Yeah.
So
the next one is
I'm not done.
Excuse me. Go ahead.
Okay. There's another example.
Oh, my bad.
A mother planning a joyful vacation filled with travel, volunteering, only to get diagnosed with cancer, and just 2 months after leaving work. And that can really throw a wrench into your plans. But if you can build some flexibility in your plans, you can pivot, you can find gratitude in doing simpler things, you can still really enjoy your retirement, but it's just a different time. I worked with a lady, and this was one of the saddest things I had experienced. She had been looking forward to retirement for a long time, and she retired in March, and by September, she had contacted cancer and died. And that just goes to tell the other side of really, you got to do things when you can do things. There's a quote by the famous Yogi Berra, and he talks about it. It's tough to make predictions, especially about the future. And he's absolutely right. If you build a retirement plan that can survive your worst fears and you can adapt to life's surprises, you're far more likely to enjoy the future that you actually get. Now I'm done.
Hey, Doug, the fourth one is called a disciplined retirement, right? And that's knowing the potential risks. Some retirees choose a more cautious approach, like living with intention and restraint. That might mean downsizing, relocating to a lower cost area, or prioritizing your purpose over consumption. While most retirees say they live in the lifestyle they envision, studies have found that nearly half admit to spending less than they could because they're afraid of running out of money. Now, this behavior aligns with one of the psychologists which talk about discipline future of living within limits to avoid worst case outcomes. Now, they say that many retirees struggle to shift from saving to spending. Now, what's hard and more common is the emotional and lifestyle evolution that happens after retirement begins. Most people change their goals at least once in their retirement. Like being too cautious, though, however, can lead to unrealistic goals, and that's what a lot of people run into. when you talk about like SMART goals, a lot of them, they're unrealistic. Now, research shows that some retirees end up with the same or more money than when they started, money that could have been used for life experiences. Like we always talking about, yeah, you need to make sure you watch your spending, control your spending, but you should definitely enjoy your life too. That's why flexibility is key. Flexibility doesn't mean being overly conservative. It means building in buffers like liquidity, diverse income sources, and revisiting your plan annually.
Hey, Bob, why don't you jump into the 5 things that can rock? Those are the 4 futures. But why don't you jump into the 5 things that can really mess your retirement up?
Yeah, those were the 4 rules of the future in retirement. But there are things that can actually disrupt your whole retirement. We just want to cover that for a quick minute. And one of the first one, we touched on it. This is a big one, though. Healthcare costs in the South, right? In the South, one of the biggest hits. The South has the lowest credit scores in America. And one of the reasons is because of medical costs. Now, healthcare costs, it shouldn't be a secret that you need to spend money to take care of your health and retirement, but the amount might cost you, may surprise you. Now, Fidelity says that the average 65-year-old in 2024, check this out though, will spend $165,000 on healthcare throughout retirement. However, Fidelity also found that Americans estimated their retirement health costs at $75,000. That's less than half of their calculations. They underestimate. Now, the reality is there's no preset formula for calculating future healthcare expenses. A lot will depend on your personal health, your prescription needs, your Medicare plan. We talked about that. We're going to have another show about, choosing Medicare because a lot of things are going to be changing on that. But it's better to overestimate your healthcare spending rather than to go under. There's also a good idea to always to reserve HSA, health savings account funds, for retirement because you can actually carry that over and it's a tax advantage. Despite being able to use these earlier in life health savings accounts, withdrawals taken from quality medical expenses are tax-free and they come age 65. Non-medical health savings account withdrawals are available also at age 65, penalty free. So if you're looking at carrying a large health savings account balance into your retirement, you really can't go wrong.
Yeah, another thing that can really rock your retirement that a lot of people don't plan for is long-term care. And it's estimated that 70% of adults who make it to 65 will end up needing some sort of long-term care in their lifetime. And those costs could be catastrophic. The most recent estimates of having a home health aide is $78,000 a year.
Dang.
And for assisted living facility, the price drops a little bit, and it's about $71,000 a year. And then there's nursing home care, and that has an average price tag of $111,000 a year for a shared room and $127,000 a year for a private room. Even a brief nursing home stay could empty a whole lot of your savings if you're not prepared. That's why planning how you'll pay for that is essential. It could be talking to family members about providing care later in life, buying an annuity or life insurance policy, setting up a QLAC IRA, which is where you put some money away to, well, I won't even get into that. It's kind of complicated. And we're all going to have a show about that. Or you could buy long-term care insurance, which I don't particularly recommend because they have really gone through some changes as far as the premiums aren't set. They can raise your premiums based on their experience. And everybody I know who has them have been complaining about how the cost keeps going up and the care they're paying for keeps going down. So that's kind of one I would avoid unless you really know what you're getting into. And so you got to remember that Medicare doesn't cover the cost of long-term care. And that's something you got to understand. So if you're older and you have limited savings, Medicaid can pay for this care. But this current administration is talking about cuts to Medicaid. So we're telling what's going to happen. And that's also a nightmare if you have some assets, but not a whole lot, but you need Medicaid. A lot of times they will take all of your assets, including your house, if you have to go into long-term care that's paid for by the government. So be aware of that.
That's real talk, though. Another one that can just rock your retirement is, and this is a big one, though, home repairs. Homeowners are often advised to budget 1 to 4% of their property values for upkeep and repairs. How many people does that, though? How many people really budget like that? Percent of their property values. But the guidance applies to general maintenance, not large repairs like replacing a roof or HVAC system. And if you're staying in the same home you lived in during your working years, by the time you reach retirement, that house will be, no question, much older. The chances are repairs will be inevitable. To prepare, make sure you have a nice size cash emergency fund ready. Me and Don't always talk about emergency funds. Now, retirees are often advised to have 1 to 2 years worth of expenses in cash. That's not that's just a benchmark that people use. Some people say 6 months to 12. Some people say this particular article talks about 1 to 2 years worth of expenses in cash for protection against negative market events. You may want to stick to the higher end of that range if you're covered when your home repairs come up. Now, one thing I want you to remember, that even if you used to making minor home repairs yourself, as you age, that could get more difficult. Some professional plumbers, carpenters, and other health repair experts are another expense you have to save for and budget for.
And please stay off of ladders.
Man, I know you fell off
stay off ladders. And I'm telling you, it's hard as heck getting on and off the floor when you get old. But the other thing that can really wreck your retirement savings is the tax situation. And that's one that takes, laser focus, and you really have to understand the tax landscape in retirement. I mean, you got a bunch of tax decisions to make. You got to maximize your Social Security. You got to make sure you have a tax efficient withdrawal strategies, and that entails making sure you draw what's most beneficial to you. You draw that money out first before you draw other monies out. For example, you may want to take out money from your portfolio before you take out money from your IRAs or something that you have to pay taxes on. You got to make sure you manage your investment income. If you're getting interest and dividends, and you got to make sure you're handling that. And estate planning and inheritance also plays a big role and can have a tax effect if you've accumulated a whole lot of money. And the problem you run into is that a lot of financial analysts, advisors, a lot of times they have too narrow of a focus and they aren't looking at the whole picture. And so there are things you can do yourself to make sure you're in a good position. And most importantly, these things are diversify your retirement. Make sure you have a little bit of money in every bucket as opposed to being overly invested in one particular sector, and that sector takes a hit and then you're wiped out. You got to think about when you're going to do your Roth conversions, if you have a Roth, you got to plan for those RMDs. When you turn 73, you have to start taking out money every year from all your tax deferred accounts You got to stay on top of your tax loss harvesting. You got to make sure if you have gains, try to offset them with losses. And finally, if this gets overwhelming to you, make sure you talk to a tax professional, because again, you can really make some poor decisions if you aren't looking at your entire picture from a tax perspective.
Real talk, though. Now, Dope, this is a very good one. This man, a lot of people deal with this, man. Another one thing that could rock your retirement, the cost of aging in place. And what does that mean? It was once fairly common for older Americans to downsize or relocate in retirement. That was a common thing. These days, it's an important question. Do you want to age in place or move? That's the question you need to ask yourself. A growing number opting to stay in the homes they know and love as they age. But check this out. AARP reports that 75% of Americans age 50 and older want to age in place, and 73% hope to stay in their communities. However, aging in place often means making changes for safety reasons and retrofitting a home that can fit your retrofitting a home can be really expensive, if you're trying to adjust for safety reasons like ramps and remote control chairs to go up the steps and stuff like that. Now, there's a study that says homeowners spend an average of $3,000 to $15,000 to remodel their homes, though, to age in place. But the cost you incur will depend on the scope of the work, which obviously needs to be done. Now, installing, how about walk-in showers, will cost more than simply installing a grab bar on the current one, or adding, lighting to kitchens, bathrooms, hallways is another expense that people don't even really think about, but it could add up. And there's a large, that's a large area to cover with your expenses. Now, if you know ahead of retirement that you prefer to live out your days in your current home, save for eventual renovations. We just don't think about that sometimes, but this is big. You may even want to bring in a contractor to give you some quotes so you have a sense of the cost, and you can prepare, by savings for that, so you don't have to do everything all at once. You can have, you can be sure to explore how technologies can help you age in place as well. And the more details you have, the better job you can do of saving ahead of retirement. So, so you're able to make whatever changes are necessary, to create, and this is important, a safe living environment. Because like Dope said, getting up off the ground, falling is another big one, with getting aging in homes, and those stairs are a tough one, man. I'm telling you. Every time I walk my stairs, I got 16 steps to go upstairs. I want to tear them mugs out.
Yeah, back in 2013, I took a fall down my steps, and the steps won. That's all. I'll leave it at that. The steps definitely won.
Wow. But this is a real talk, you all. And if you have any questions, please put it in the comment box, or any comments about what we're talking about. Please put it in the comment box.
Yeah, and we aren't trying to scare you, because there's obviously a thin line between preparing and being overly worried about what's going to happen. That's what you got to think about, because you still got to enjoy yourself. Because it's you can't spend your life thinking only bad stuff is going to happen. You have to enjoy it. So you have to walk that middle line of enjoying yourself, but at the same time, if the things you can prepare for, you need to do that. You definitely need to do that.
And Dope, there's a quote, and I've said it before, but I always like this quote of me and your best friend, Kevin Cato, who passed and went on to home up in the big sky. He always said, "I will prepare, so when my time comes, I will be ready." So prepare for the unexpected. So let's take it on home, man. Let's get to talking about our major summary and takeaways for today, and let's hope that it works today. always, Okay, let me see. Is it working, Dope?
Keep coming. That's the first one. There we go.
Great. Who's first? You take the first one, Dope.
Okay, first one is you can't predict the future. Nobody knows what's going to happen. The best you can do is try to prepare as best you can for what you think might happen. And again, I was just talking about walking that thin line. If everybody knew when they were going to die, this would be real easy. But because you don't, you got to enjoy yourself, but at the same time, prepare for what might happen.
Financial planning doesn't stop in retirement. Now there's a myth, a financial myth. There's many financial myths that they try to say, oh, it's not really hard. It doesn't take that much work. It is consuming, time consuming, and it can be complex. Let's be straight up, not trying to scare anybody, but we on this show believe in reality, But remember, it doesn't stop in retirement. A lot of people get to retirement. You got to constantly keep on track, look at things that matter to you, make adjustments. And like we said, you get older, there might be different things that you may need that you didn't at once. So, it doesn't stop in retirement. And, it takes time, you all. And if you take the time, you're going to be okay. That's all you need to do is give it some attention.
The next one is get help if you need it. And it's probably, I can't overstate enough how important it is to have help with retirement. I told you, I thought I was as prepared as you could be, but there were some things I didn't know, again, because I had never been through retirement, as far as Medicare costs, how the Medicare surcharge is calculated, when to withdraw money, how to put money away, balancing your taxes, your income as best you can to make sure you're minimizing your taxes and not paying any more in Medicare costs than you have to pay. There's a lot of things to look at. If you know you aren't good at those things, get help. And again, this isn't particularly a case where you need a financial advisor. This might be a situation where you need a financial advisor. You also need a tax planner. You might also need a lawyer. And in some situations, you can get all that under one roof, and it will cost you money, but the money you can lose by not knowing can be considerable.
And the last one is find the happy medium. Meaning, it's no question you need to spend time managing and planning your retirement and being in retirement, but make sure you enjoy your life. You know what I mean? Never seen a Brinks truck behind a hearse. You can't take it with you. I know we need to think about our kids and everything like that, but enjoy your life. Enjoy the experience. A lot of people got a bunch of stuff, but enjoy the experiences. Take trips. Buy you. There's a thing. These transcendental mentalists talk about, and they say you need to spend time on the things that bring you joy. Ain't nothing wrong with that, you all. There is nothing wrong if you prepare yourself and get your financial situation intact, that you can focus on the things that enjoy you. And let me tell you, that's one of the secrets, you all, to life, is doing what you enjoy. So, I'd like to leave you with that. We talked about a lot today, and if you have any questions, please put it in the comment box. But I'd like to give a shout out to all our wonderful, wonderful folks who are on. Modestine from Lexington, South Carolina. Rodney L. Madison, Dope, the NoteExperience.com. Rodney is retiring from the FDIC. And I think it's this week, if I'm right. It might be today. So congratulations, Rodney.
Congratulations.
Yes, welcome to a wonderful new experience. And thank you now, Doty, as always. Now Edwards Doty, for being there for supporting us, especially your hubby. And Carl Chapman, my little brother, man, you've been here since the beginning, day one. You stay on. We appreciate you, man, and hope we're giving you a lot of things. He is a trustee of this church, so he uses a lot of this information. And, I'm proud of him because he's growing, and he says, Bob, sometimes, man, I don't know some of this information that's coming out, and I'm like, dude, he is really picking up, though. I'm really proud of Carl, man, and how he's using this information and staying, wanting to learn. That's the key, you all.
Yeah, and we are, and Bob, if you take a couple of these things that we throw out here and you use them and adjust your situation, then hey, we've done okay. We don't expect anybody to follow everything we come up with, but if you can just find something that will help you manage your money, save a little bit of money, invest a little bit of money, make a little bit more money, that's all we're trying to do.
Yes, definitely. Hey, want to thank for being on here. We appreciate you. Mo Better. I just love that. Mo Better, though. Can't be nothing. It can't be better than Mo Better. Mo Better is Mo Better. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for being on. We really appreciate you. Joanne Skinner, you always a winner in my book, girl. Good to see you. And Dope, they all lined up in a row. My three sisters, Gloria, Linda, and Nolia. They support me so much. I love y'all so much. And guess what, Dope? Even though my birthday is past, they taking me out tomorrow to celebrate my birthday lunch because there's so much been going on. And they take me to my favorite place, the Hibachi buffet, all you can eat. I'm not going to overdo it, but that's one of my favorite places. Thank you, my sisters. I love you all so much. And, thank you for being on. And Dope.
Yes, my brother.
The quote of the day. If you raise your children, you will be able to spoil your grandchildren. But if you spoil your children, you will have to raise your grandchildren. With that, you all, next week, little secret Dope, I'll be in Kirks and Caicos.
Oh, that's right. I hope it works.
Live.
I hope it works.
All the way is we celebrating Tiffany's, can't say, year birthday. It's a special birthday. We go on for 4 days, 3 nights. So looking to have a great time next week. But I'll be broadcasting from, is it Kirks and Caicos or Turks and Caicos?
Turks and Caicos.
Yeah, I always get that mixed up. Sometimes I think I'm dyslexic. All right, Dope. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, everybody. And remember, if you want to rehash some of this information, go on Facebook Live in the archives. It only stays out there for 30 days now. And go out there, stays out there longer on YouTube. And please, you all, share this link with your friends and family and co-workers. Have a wonderful week, and may peace be with you.